What's up, everybody? We are back. We're back with another chapter in God's Word, Nehemiah chapter 3, Rebuilding the Wall of Jerusalem, or as I like to call it, the Bible's longest holy construction receipt chapter project. But listen, this chapter it might seem kind of boring on the surface, but I think once you read through it, you're going to realize that it is actually sort of hilarious. It's deeply human, and it's super relevant to our lives today. So without further ado, let's go. All right, chapter 3, verse 1 says this. Then Eliashib, the high priest, and the other high priests started to rebuild at the sheep gate. Now, a couple of things to point out here. The name Sheep Gate, it doesn't seem like a very good name. In fact, it seems downright bad. I'm sorry. I had to do that. But anyhow, the other thing that's kind of important to call out here is these high priests, they didn't say, hey, we're going to be praying for you guys during this project. No, it says they started to rebuild at the sheep gate. So he's like, hand me a hammer. We're going to get this thing done. They sanctified the gate and then they built the gate. I think for us today, that sort of translates to spiritual leadership is not just talking about holiness. It's doing the hard things with holy intention and getting your hands dirty and getting in there and leading by example. Now, if you read through this chapter, you're going to see a lot of phrases like, and next to him was so-and-so, and next to him was so-and-so, and after him was so-and-so, and beside him was so-and-so. God is saying, I see the order, I see the teamwork, I see the consistency. But then, in verse 5, it says this right here, if I can find my place. Boom! Next were the people from Tekoa, though their leaders refused to work with the construction supervisors. Oof. Even the Bible has a group of that people. Those people that are too important, they're too busy, they're too spiritual to sweat. But do you notice something here as you read through the rest of this chapter? These guys don't get any other shout outs. There's no redemption arc, there's no comeback verse. The walls get built without them and they're just left out. Now, I will be remiss to say all the different names of all these different gates, like, let me just list them out for you. We got the sheep gate, we got the fish gate, we got the old gate, the valley gate, the dung gate, the dung gate. I mean, the dung gate is fine. Yes, it was really called the dung gate. We got the fountain gate, the water gate, the horse gate, the east gate, and the inspection gate. Now, you might be asking yourself, why in the world does God care enough to list all of these gate names out? Because nothing in this city was optional. Even the stinky parts, even the ignored parts, even the embarrassing parts. All of it mattered. God doesn't just want the polished areas of our life, He wants the broken, He wants the messy, and He wants the avoided areas as well. Especially the dung gate. Am I right? I'm sorry. Verse 8 says, Next was Uzziel, son of Harhaiah, a goldsmith by trade, who also worked on the wall. Beyond him was Hananiah, a manufacturer of perfumes. They left out a section of Jerusalem as they built the broad wall. So you're starting to see all these sort of different kinds of people working together to get these gates built. You got jewelers, you got perfume makers, you got business people. They're all on a wall with bricks in dust, sweating. Because you've all heard it perhaps, but God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Still good. So you don't need the right resume, you just need the right response. Now verse 10 says, Next, Jedaiah, son of Harumaph, repaired the wall from his own house, and next to him was Hattush, son of Hashaniah. So several people are rebuilding the wall directly in front of their homes. And you might be asking yourself, why in the world would someone do this? If the wall collapses, their living room is going to be right behind it. I think there's some real important meaning within that, and I think that some of the work that God calls us to or assigns us to is supposed to be personal to us. It's not glamorous, not shareable, but necessary nonetheless. And that is chapter 3 in a nutshell here. But I think there's some real important takeaways as we go through this sort of roll call of names and people that were working on this wall or these gates. I think obviously it goes without saying here that verse 1 showed us that leadership goes first. The priests, they didn't just supervise, they participated. If your influence isn't costing you some sweat, some time, some humility, it might be worth asking yourself, is this really leadership or is this just commentary? Real leaders don't just point at the wall, they pick up a hammer and they get to going on the work. The second thing that I think is important to call out here is that not everybody is going to help, but that is not your problem and that is not my problem. In this chapter, we saw some of the nobles who chose to sit out. This project was too low for them. They were too important for this, whatever the reasoning was. The end of the day, the wall still got built. The wall still went up. For us, I think we're to stop wasting our emotional energy trying to convince people who have already decided that they're above an assignment. God builds with the available, not the impressed. How about this one? God assigns sections, not whole cities. Not one person rebuilt everything. Everybody rebuilt something. When God calls you to something, make sure number one, that He's calling you to do that. But just know that burnout typically comes when you try to fix what God has never even assigned you. Your faithfulness is measured by obedience, not coverage. And last but not least, how about revival? Often looks ordinary to you and me. In this particular chapter, there weren't any angels, there wasn't any fire from heaven. There was just brick after brick, dust, and teamwork. We often want those breakthrough moments, but I think it's important to call out that God often brings transformation in our lives through boring, consistent obedience. Brick by brick is still holy. All right, challenge that I have for you today is this: identify, pray about a section of a wall in front of you right now and say, is there a relationship that I need to repair? Is there a habit that I need to rebuild or get rid of? Is there a responsibility that I've sort of been dodging? Show up for your section. Even if there's no applause, even if there's no spotlight, don't skip the dung gate. Dung gate. Dung gate. Yeah. God is still writing names down, and faithfulness never goes unnoticed. Won't He do it?